This is Turk182
and WallcrawlerOne.
All right, and welcome back to another episode of In the Gutters. What's going on, WC?
Nothing much. How are you doing, Turk?
Doing all right. So this is our first recording, our first remote recording with our new setup. As before, we were using the app that we had that unfortunately was kind of overlaying our dialogue some, and now we've got a better way of doing that, or hopefully a better way of doing it. And last time we recorded, we felt comfortable enough to get together and record in person, which was really nice. But yeah, so all that being said, feeling pretty good, man.
Good. Yeah, we haven't actually done. That was the last time we did it, and that's been a while ago, like a month, maybe more.
Yeah, been about a month.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of due to get together and do another one. Kind of the same thing when Akomi and I do our sessions. There's a different kind of energy that comes with being in person, even though we're still, it's still the same conversation, but in person it's just, I know that. For example, when I'm doing our Moms Think We're Funny with Akomi, part of the thing that I feed off of is his reaction to things I say, which I can't get here unless we're going to do it like a Skype or a Zoom or something like that. And even then, it's still just not the same. There's that vibe that you get from being in person.
Yeah, when you first when I started appearing on Our Moms Think We're Funny, I always thought it was weird that you guys were holding hands and staring deep into each other's eyes, but it's like, hey, it's your gig, and
Well, see that's.
But I mean, it worked. It works really well.
That's a misconception. I actually look at the space between his eyes, but it just looks like I'm looking in his eyes, and he doesn't know any different. He looks in my eyes, and I'm like, yes, drown deep in those pools. And then he says he's like, I love it when you look in my eyes. I'm like, uh-huh.
And it brings us full circle to that space in between the lines in the gutters. Wow.
I see. I thought you were actually going to go into like a Dave Matthews, the space between, but no. Okay.
The space between.
Yeah.
Dave Matthews, man. Oh, we're talking about getting off the subject. he like I did like his music at one point, but now I'm gonna find it painful. It's like listening to Adam Sandler sing.
Ouch, man.
It's just not the same anymore. I just do it the same word. It's like it's like, no, stop.
Dave, I still like you. In fact, when it used to be like a thing that when me and a couple of the guys, when we went to go to concerts in Charlottesville, when we'd actually drive to Charlottesville, Virginia to go see concerts, because they have a really nice amphitheater there. And normally tickets are really cheap because it's not a very big amphitheater, but it's nice. And I think the most I ever paid is like $45 there. And I saw like Arcade Fire, Flaming Lips, Beck. So I've seen some really cool people there. Fairly cheap. But there's if I understand correctly, there's a bar that Dave Matthews like owns or co-owns or maybe used to own. That we would always eat at. That was like our pre-concert ritual, kind of like when we would go to like when we go to Heroes Con, and we always eat at like the was it the Silver Diner, Red Diner, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then actually right next to that place is a little tavern, and that's our other pre-concert ritual. If we go to Charlottesville for a concert, we eat and drink there. Just one of those things. But anyway, so yeah, I still love you, Dave. But
no, I don't hate him, but it's just like I heard one of his songs the other day on something, and I was just like, this is I'm becoming an old man. Like even you and Akomi are way more into music than me. I just let's don't go down that path. Okay,
we can say that for an episode of our Moms Think We're Funny. I'll let you can come back on there and you can just rant about how much you hate Dave Matthews.
He's a very talented man.
Hey, as long as you believe that Dave Matthews is 20 times better than what's those jerky boys? Crap. The one that's where the lead singer now like sings country music. What the hell's that stupid group called?
Oh, Hootie and the Blowfish.
God, yes. Oh,
Darius Rucker. He's got
man.
a better voice than Dave Matthews. I'm sorry, man.
So
I don't
everyone,
really
this
like
is
his
our
music
last
either.
episode of
But
In the
although I've
Gutters.
told you, Encomium, Led Zeppelin, like that Hey Hey song that he does is fantastic. Have you heard it? I sent it to you and you didn't listen to it, did you?
No, I'm sorry. I will try. For you, I will try. But you got to stop talking like that because you give me the sling blades. I'm just like,
Mr. Biscuit.
hey, he ain't one of those people that drills in himself and rubs shit in his hair, is he? You know I can't eat in front of Mitch's Antique Furniture.
Oh.
Okay, so we've done our little warm up here, our non-comic warm up.
Neither one of us are going to listen to Dwight Yoakam, though, so it's a fine, whatever.
You know, I appreciate him as an actor, but I can't say I care much for his music. Or I can't say I really listen to his music, but I do appreciate him as an actor. I think he does a pretty good job with stuff he's done. Panic Room,
He plays a really good asshole.
Yeah, I was going to say in Panic Room, he's a horrible, horrible person. In Sling Blade, he's a horrible, horrible person. But so today we are going to talk about, which is kind of funny because as right now I'm actually watching Harley Quinn and it was the fantabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn, and then earlier I was watching Suicide Squad, which kind of brings us to our topic today, which is WC
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
And it was because of an accident, actually. We were texting each other.
Whoa. God, I'm sorry. As I was talking to you, I'm watching, and there's sorry, and maybe this has been pointed out by other people, but I'm watching Birds of Prey, and Harley's at the bar talking to Black Canary, and there's maybe just the way it looks, but I guess it's a waitress that's like right behind Harley Quinn, this one shot, and she's got purple lipstick, a black
Punchline?
shortcut hair, and she's got these green like painted on eyes almost. She looks like a mannequin, and that's what caught my eye. I was like, oh man, I'm just looking at something weird. But the whole time I'm just staring at her, and she turns and walks away. She looks like a mannequin. And
I thought you were going to say it was Punchline, like that new thing that they're doing, because she's kind of taking Harley's thunder as Joker's main gal now. So
no,
I was going to say.
This is just super creepy. She looks like a mannequin, and it's wild. Anyway, so yes, you were saying happy accident. I am so sorry, everybody. Happy accidents.
No, we were texting each other, and I was making fun of Suicide Blonde, because every time I hear that song, I think it's by NXS, if you haven't heard it. And I'm not going to sing it, but it's like I always replaced the Suicide Blonde with Suicide Squad. And so I was kind of doing my little riff and sent it to Turk, and then he was like, do you want to do Suicide Squad? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he didn't mean it like that. He was just singing along with the song.
Yeah, because you tossed a couple lyrics out there replacing Blonde with Squad. And so I replied back with the same thing. And I was like, you want to make a Suicide Squad? And you're like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. Okay, we can do that. No problem.
Of course we can. Yeah. Okay, so do you want to go first? So basically we came up with a list, and then I think you want to go down dark. You want to do the Marvel aspect too, Dark Avengers.
Yeah. So we were talking about. Well, I guess we got a lot of stuff to talk about right now because news is just dropping. So I guess we can just take things just a bite at a time.
Okay.
So Sci-Fi Channel has been running this whole like DC thing. I guess this whole week, and they're doing nothing but like DCU movies. Last night I was watching Suicide Squad, and today they were running Suicide Squad, and then Justice League, and the Suicide Squad. Then wasn't bad. Then it went to Justice League, and so I was watching that, and like I said before, I love Suicide Squad like I said, I will admit that it's a very flawed movie, but I think it hits a lot of really good points. We talked about that in in one of our recent episodes. We were talking about Captain Boomerang, and I was talking about how it does so many things so well, and not a lot of things. But again, you also talk about a movie that was made one way and it was heavily edited to make it look something else. So, I mean, it was like the precursor to Justice League. If only we could get a David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, even though there's an extended version out there, but get that real cut. But anyway, so I was
It's
watching.
got a very similar plot to how like we did on our Moms Think We're Funny. We did the thing where you try to come up with a synopsis for a film, but it can apply to another film.
Yeah.
And I did the one for Avengers where basically I said like a ragtag group of heroes tries to stop an interdimensional force from destroying the Earth. It's pretty much that plot as well. Suicide Squad. It can apply.
No, you're right. It's, and obviously we're talking about those are some pretty generic, like descriptions there, but it still fits very well. It's not like you have to kind of like look at it through like a different eye and be like, yeah, I can kind of see. No, it's perfect. So I was watching Suicide Squad, and then I was watching a little bit Justice League. So I was getting myself ready this afternoon. So I was watching Suicide Squad and then Justice League, and then I realized something, and I was like, well, hot dog, right? I was like, this is so weird. FlashPoint has happened, and of course, obviously, if FlashPoint happens, anytime you change the past, if you're not the person that changed the past, you're not going to be aware that it was changed. For the most part, like for example, after the original Flashpoint, when Flash set everything back and he goes to see Batman, then like once time catches up with him, he's like, what am I doing here? It's like, why are we walking like this? But I realized that Flashpoint has happened, and of course nobody's aware of it except for two people, and I think it's completely bizarre. Were you aware of this?
No.
Okay. So this is why I say Flashpoint has happened. For those of you that don't know, of course, if you listen to this podcast, then probably you're aware of this because it kicked off the whole DC 52. But Flashpoint is the DC story where Flash or Barry Allen goes back in time to save his mom's life, and because he does that, it alters the timeline. I'm sorry. I actually kind of cut to the chase here. Reverse Flash went back in time and altered the timeline and saved like Barry's mom. But because he did that, Barry never got powers, so he never became the Flash. But because that happened, it created like a whole ripple effect where the whole world was changed, and Atlantis went to war with the Mascara, and Wonder Woman, which I would have to say that Flashpoint story is really good. You read it, right?
Yeah. Well, I watched the movie.
The movie's not bad. It does leave a lot of really strong points out, and then of course it adds some things in there like I don't remember Grifter being in the original Flashpoint, but of course he's in the movie, which I didn't have a problem with because I've liked Grifter. But Aquaman was having an affair with Wonder Woman. Mera found out. Wonder Woman killed her, and then there was a fight between the two of them, and I think Aquaman floods London and makes that new Atlantis. And anyway, their war was basically was getting out of control, was going to destroy the whole world unless they could set things right. And Barry was like, oh, this is not how it's supposed to be, but he had to get his powers back first. So he went to Thomas Wayne, who's the new Batman, and this is not about Flashpoint at all, but Thomas Wayne is Batman, and just leave it at that. So to get his powers back,
Thomas Wayne.
Yeah, he's
I love that character.
He's pretty badass.
I'm gun Batman.
He thinks he's a better Batman. Anyway, so as it turns out though, he's telling everybody is Reverse Flash did this because, he's been trying to ruin me. And then Reverse Flash basically ends up making, which I already kind of told you guys thing, he ends up making Barry remember that he didn't do this. Barry did it. He did it on his own and went back and changed things and then created that world. And he was like, I'm just here to watch it all fall apart. This is all you're doing. But it's nice that you want to blame me, but yeah, I had nothing to do with it. So anyway, that whole story I thought was really good. But when Flash comes back from Flashpoint, and I'm not even going to get into the whole like what happened and how, because that's just so damn confusing. But somehow on his way back, after he went and let his mom die and got everything back to normal. And did you ever watch the Flash TV series?
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I mean,
the first few seasons at least. I think I dropped off after 3.
I dropped off a little bit later, but it wasn't because I didn't enjoy it. I didn't have time to watch so many shows, and after I ended up falling out a bunch of them, and I got like so many seasons behind. Kind of same thing with Shield. I just said, what, I can catch up at a later date, but it won't be anytime soon. But I thought they did a really good.
Elongated Man in it with Dibney.
I did see him. I didn't really like the way they handled him, but I did see him.
I like that. I thought he was a good character. I watched up to that one. Maybe that's later than I thought. But yeah, I know I'm way behind. I'm at least 3 seasons behind now.
But I thought they did a really good job of explaining the kind of the whole Flashpoint thing, where when the other Flash, was telling him, is like, you can't just fix time back. Is like, if you break a dish or a cup, you can glue it back together, all the pieces, but it's never completely whole. And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. It's like, no, even though you went back and you saved your mom, I mean, you didn't save your mom, you let her die again, you already altered it. Everything just can't snap back together, like it never happened. So, but according
it's been a while since I watched it, but like, what was the, what they did in the Flash TV show is they had somebody that had to be inside the Speed Force all the time. Like, remember Wally took the place of Barry?
Yep.
And like, because somebody had to pay the price. Did they do that in the comic as well?
No, because I was going to say is, according to, I guess, as we know things now, when he changed things back, it was going back to the present. That's when, I guess, Dr. Manhattan stepped in, was like, hey, let me mess with some stuff here because I'm just curious because I'm a big jerko, which I don't even know. I'm just, okay.
You're probably right. I mean, like, you're kidding, but like, it probably was Dr. Manhattan because that's pretty much what they had. They did that reset with Doomsday Clock where he's kind of like merged everything. It's weird. It's really weird.
Well, supposedly that's what happened. That's why, because Barry brings to Batman a letter from Thomas, and he doesn't recognize that Batman's in a new costume. He's in his new 52 costume, and he also doesn't recognize that he's in his new 52 costume. But when he leaves, because he's talking to him, and he's like, he gives him the letter from Thomas, and then there's like a moment where he's like, what am I doing here? He says there's something where he's kind of slightly confused, and he leaves. But then that's when Batman found the button embedded in the wall of the Batcave.
Yeah.
So anyway, but like all that crap aside, we're getting way off on this. Like, it's comic books, right? We always say it's comic books. So when you start telling the thing, you got to tell the thing, right? But so that's the whole thing. If eventually, if you're the person that changed time, eventually it's going to catch up to you, and you're not going to remember unless, of course, you somehow stay outside of time, like Golden Age Superman and Superboy Prime, right?
Yeah.
So I was watching Justice League and Suicide Squad, and I was like, wait a minute, Flashpoints happened, because, and this is the reason why I say this. Ezra Miller is the Flash, and this goes really deep, by the way. Ezra Miller is the Flash. Billy Crudup is his father, who's in prison for killing his mom, or so everyone thinks. And Jeremy Irons is playing Alfred. Billy Crudup played Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen movie. Jeremy Irons plays Ozymandias in the Watchmen TV series. They just so happen to both be in the DCU playing different roles, but maybe they're not playing different roles, so to speak. Maybe they're just pretending. So Ozymandias,
different realities.
right? So like if you take the whole Doomsday Clock thing, Ozymandias is probably watching over John to make sure that he doesn't do something else, because his whole plan, is contingent on, everyone thinking that well, in the movies, Dr. Man's a bad guy, but it's all contingent on Dr. Manhattan not interfering, everyone following the lie that he created, and then moving on. But he also has to make sure that things stay the way they're supposed to be. And so if Dr. Manhattan were to go somewhere, or if there was a Flashpoint event that then changed reality, that's why you have these two guys from two different pieces that are both there. And you've got the Flash there, who we know is going to do something time travel-y, because supposedly his movie is going to have something to do with that. But plus, so we also get the Nightmare dream sequence there. It's like, oh shit, Flashpoint's happened. But of course, none of us realize it because
just did?
That's time travel. What?
You know what you just did?
What'd I do?
You know what you should name this completely?
What?
Watchmen Season 2, HBO Max.
Oh, this is going to get even deeper. You ready for this?
What?
Ezra Miller was in a movie called We Need to Talk About Kevin that has John C. Reilly in it, and of course my fave, my crush, my love, So, and in it he actually plays a. Oh, by the way, for those of you that don't know, haven't listened to Our Moms Think We're Funny, I'm talking about Tilda Swinton. Anyway, Ezra Miller plays a kid that actually does like a. It's not a school shooting, but he does do a school massacre. In a movie called Rudderless, Billy Crudup plays the father of a kid who does a school shooting. And now the two of them are in, well, not now, but then the two of them are in Justice League playing father and son. Dude, it's Flashpoint, man. Who knows how many times Superboy punched that wall and just fractured itself and fractured it. I mean, sure, it's all just a big coincidence, but that's kind of wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird how stuff like that lines up. It's like it's not by design, but if you point it out, like you could do something with it. It's you basically created your own Flashpoint conspiracy.
Conspiracy. It's like, this is not my life. I'm not supposed to be poor.
But the thing is,
I used to be Asian.
Well, the thing is, like you're talking about something that's like you're talking about different realities playing out at different time periods, which is what basically they say is happening.
Yep.
Which there's no proof of that, but like, it is like that when you splinter realities and like you've got different things going on at different times. That's exactly how it would play out. So it's kind of neat.
It's kind of like, you've seen Johnny Darko, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How that whole thing.
Harvey on crack. Mary, quite contrary. Sorry, I watched Rear Window last night. Sorry.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, that with Donnie Darko, there's the that whole thing also where you're talking about like time travel and it's being fractured and splintered, and when things don't go the way they're supposed to go, but then at the same time they are going the way they're supposed to go because, well, I mean, you'd have to watch the movie, but obviously, if things weren't supposed to happen the way they happened, then there never would have been the letter in the mailbox, all that stuff. So anyway,
was that Swayze's last movie?
Huh?
Was that Swayze's last movie?
If you,
well,
no, he was.
I don't remember him anything after that.
He was in that episode of Clerks animated series where he was. Well, I don't know. Was he actually making a movie? He said he was making a movie, but I'm starting to think now that maybe he was just running that pet store. Sorry, I've done it again. You know what? If you guys are listening to this and you haven't watched Clerks animated series, I really don't know what's wrong with you. So anyway, getting into all that and then getting back to Suicide Squad, I guess the next part of this thing before we actually even get more into our episode is the recent DC news. And
so you want to go there.
Huh?
You want to go there.
Well, I kind of feel like I have to go there because as I was watching the sci-fi and they keep promoting DC Fandom. And they're like, August 27th, DC Fandom. And there's going to be big news. We're going to be dropping big surprises and big this and big that. I'm like, you already dropped a bunch of big news and big surprises. And it was all bad. I can't imagine you dropping something big that's going to be positive 2 weeks from now after you just dropped a whole big steaming pile of bad news on us like the past week. I mean, you're leading up to this.
It's a really good business plan, man. Like, you just, if you want comics, they're just going to make them digital. And if a lot of people read those comics, then they'll print them. That seems like a really good idea to me. Oh, wait, no, it's the opposite of that. It's horrible. It's just the dumbest thing ever. They don't care, man. They only care about the media stuff. That's why you're seeing all this big push with their content, is because that's where the money is. That's all that ATT cares about. And like, they're gonna drop that if their 5G doesn't work out. So it's like, I mean, it's unfortunate that these corporate, like you even said this, we were texting each other and you said these people don't know what they've got. It's these big business people that are in control of things that we love, and they don't give a shit about it. So they don't know what makes it work. So how can you be in control? It's such a big responsibility, and yet they don't even know how to do it. They don't know anything about it. It's like
it's business people that don't know how to run a business.
Yeah, basically.
You know, I had
it's basically like me saying, "Hey, I'm going to start up a hamburger chain, and I've only eaten spaghetti my whole life." You know, it's like,
you're going to start a hamburger chain and you're vegan.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense.
But it's going to be Kobe beef. I hear it's going to taste good. I don't know.
It'll all work out in the end.
It's supposed to be red and runny, right? That's how you guys cook this stuff. That's the one thing about a vegan burger.
And Jim Lee,
you can never cook it wrong.
The thing about Jim Lee that pisses me off too is that I get it, man. I respect Jim Lee. I mean, of course, he's a great artist. He's done his thing. He broke off, did his own thing. He's a great businessman. Probably made the best decisions of everybody going to DC at that time when he did it. I mean, it's not going to affect him at the end of the day, though. There's a lot of guys that want to be Jim Lee that will never be Jim Lee and never even get close to that. And part of it's not his fault. He's a figurehead. He's a spokesman. But just because you like him, it doesn't make what he says true. I mean, it's sad because, I mean, I don't even think. Do you think he really believes it's a good idea? Do you really think that he thinks that what he's saying is legit? If he does, he's delusional.
So my personal opinion, and this all it is, just my personal opinion, I don't think that he is in charge of any of these decisions. I think that this is all being passed down to him from Warner Media or whatever they want to call themselves, and they're telling him this is what they want him to do. And
well, I mean, I believe that too, but it's like,
of course, he has to make it seem like it's his idea and that he's all for it. Because this is what I was thinking about earlier today. One, I mean, obviously, I look around at my collection, not to mention the most recent DC Direct things statues I bought. And I'm like, you're going to close DC Direct? I mean, I would assume that thing was making money. I mean, I see statues selling pretty well, and I'm buying them. You're buying them. And, I know you do it with a little bit more high-end stuff, but, people are still buying these things. And you bought that Batman Black and White. You bought the Frank Miller Batman, right?
Yeah.
And that's with DC Direct. And then I got the Mark Silvestri Batman. And then there was I wanted to get to Frank Miller, but there was another one I wanted to get too. And they had a bunch of those Batman.
You got the Adam Kubert one, the Dark Knight.
Yep.
You got that one. That one's nice.
But so
I got that one too.
I assume that those things are making good money. That whole end. But what I was gonna say with that is you're telling me that you're going to cancel these books that we're going to be getting into. You're going to cancel these books because they weren't making enough money. They weren't like paying for themselves. And then you're also going to tell me that digital is the future. Well, then instead of canceling those books that you're saying not doing very well, why don't you just make those digital? Right?
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's so.
And I remember asking, or maybe I didn't ask. I remember reading. So I asked myself, and then I read something because digital books cost the same as print books. And I'm like, well, how do you justify that? And they're like, well, the cost is the same to us. I'm like, well, no, it's not really. And they laid and obviously I'm making it sound like it was a conversation between me and them, but it was like this is a conversation I had. I'm reading like this article about it, and I'm kind of speaking to the article. I'm like, really? But
I know that's not true. I know that's 100% not true.
well, they're saying that obviously everything they cost to make the book up until the printing part, still costs the same. But this is the part where it gets kind of weird. So let's say I have a book that's not doing very well, or I'm not really making as much money as I want to off the book. So I'm gonna make it digital. And I'm gonna charge the same price because that's the only way that I can now make this book profitable. I'm saving costs on my end. And so now I'm actually recouping some money or making a little bit more off of it because I'm saving costs on my end. But if it's digital and it's not costing you as much to make, why should I be paying the same price for something that I don't actually have that physical copy of? And I'm sorry, I can't see paying something like that for something digital. I mean, I get the whole like wave of the future thing. And I bought some digital like music and stuff. I've never really felt good about it because I don't feel I need that tangibility. And as a collector, I get, collector, not everyone's a collector. They just want to read and that kind of stuff. Fine. Have at thee. But I mean, for comic books and comic book industry, especially when you're talking about conventions, you have to have a book. That's why I asked you, I was like, how many signatures can I fit on my tablet?
What they're trying to do is that they're trying to subsidize the low sales because what's going to happen is they're not going to get as many digital sales, no matter what they say, as they would in print. And they're not getting that many print anyway. But what they're doing is they're hiring artists from other countries to look all the same, generic style, in-house style, which is good. It's a solid style. But like they're trying to hire them for a cheap rate, and they're going to save that money on the printing cost. And what they're doing is they're going to take those inflated prices of people that are willing to pay it just because they're going to get their fix, which isn't going to be that many, and they're going to get their cut, DC, and then they're going to pay their artists the same, so they don't have to pay them less, at least not much more less. But it's like that's what it's all about. It's like, and it's not going to work.
Well,
I guarantee it's not going to work.
It's been there. It's been their model already, and it's been not just DC, but also Marvel, to hiring for artists from overseas. And I don't really have a problem with that. I'm going to say per se, I don't have a problem with it because one, there's a lot of great artists overseas, and I've heard from other, not personally heard, but no, I guess I've been a part of that conversation with artists that were saying things like, I remember I was talking to an artist and they were talking about a particular, like a big artist, and I'm not going to mention any names, but they were saying that, and they were talking about how they don't get the kind of respect that, I'm not going to say that they necessarily do, but they don't get the kind of respect here in the States that they get overseas. And this one artist they had paid for them to go over to like Italy or whatever for like a week. And they were treated like a celebrity there because they love art and they love sequential art. And over there, that artist, he was a big name here, was like an even bigger name there. And they treated this person like I said, like royalty, like comic book, like just art, not even comic book, but like art royalty over there because they view it differently than here. So with that kind of mindset, you've got a lot of European or just, international artists that are really good. And so them reaching out to them and bringing that talent into like I don't want to say more mainstream because they're big where they live in their country. And I'm sure that's all they really care about. But, bringing them to like a bigger, like a publisher or something like that, I think that's fantastic. But if you're only doing that, not just because you're looking for great art or because you can lowball, that kind of sucks, And I've seen a lot of really good artists come from that.
Well, that's the only reason I got a problem with it. It's not that I have anything against people overseas getting jobs. It's fine. But the thing is, you're just doing it because you're trying to, all the guys that are here, you don't want to pay them.
Right.
I mean, that's the sad part. That's the only thing I got about it. It's like, and unfortunately, people don't understand this, and probably if you're listening to this, you do, but it's like, it does not pay what people think it pays. You are not everybody's Jim Lee or Todd McFarlane. I mean, that is so rare, man. That's the 1%. You know?
Yeah.
It for most guys, like a lot of them are doing other things. I mean, to a certain extent, it's like that with acting too. There's people that have been on legit things that you've seen and are probably entertaining you right now, but they're taking side jobs. I guarantee it, because it doesn't pay what people think it does. It does for some, but it's very, very rare. Not everybody's pulling in, whoever, Chris Pratt money, It's just not like that. And even that, like, look at singers, man. Why do you think singers are taking all these other, like, entertainment, because there's so much of it now and it's so atomized, it just doesn't pay what it used to. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's really kind of. I mean, I was going to say it's kind of sad. It's very sad.
Yeah,
the other part of that is with all that. I mean, and I get you trying to do what you need to do to keep the industry alive, and you don't always have to. You don't always have to love your whatever it is that you do, right? So, I mean. But you obviously have to care about the job you do, and you have to care about the company, even if whatever it is you do is not really your thing. Obviously there are people that work in, I don't know, like sewage. You're gonna be like, man, like, yeah, definitely love this job, definitely love it. No, they're like, hey, it's a job, and I'm gonna do my best at this job because I have pride in what I do. But this is obviously not the job that I really want to be in. Like thigh deep in like crap all day. So we were talking about the people are running these companies. At one of the places I used to work at previously to where I work now, they were hiring a new manager for a particular team, and they were hiring from outside of the company. And I remember asking, like, why are you, like, you're hiring from outside of the company? And I'm like, okay, well, if you're getting somebody from a similar type of like background, okay, that's fine. And they weren't. And they were like, yeah, but this person has managerial skills. Well, I don't care about that. Again, like you said, if I'm making hamburgers, I don't care if this person has managerial skills if all they do is eat cereal all day. They don't know anything about meat. They don't know anything about buns, about vegetables, any of that. They don't know anything about hamburgers. I don't care if they can manage people. You can't manage the job. So when you go to try to tell me about my performance and say, hey, you know what? You're overcooking these burgers. How the hell would you know? You know two things about burgers, Jack and shit, and Jack left town. So you can't, I mean, and I think that's the problem. Again, you don't have to have
we're talking Jack in the Box. We're not talking Jack shit.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to have been, like, raised on a farm and know everything there is about a cow from the rooter to the tutor, but you at least have to know about the job, especially if you're going to tell me that I'm not doing my job right, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to listen to the damn thing you have to say.
Yeah.
Because I can't because you don't have anything, in my eyes, you don't have anything to back that up. And unfortunately, I see a lot of that, not just with DC, where they just are whipping board for the week, but I see a lot of that with the industry so far, because they've grown. And I guess this is what really sucks, man. It's the double-edged sword. It's almost like a triple-edged sword. Like I have a sword. It's it's sharpened on one side, it's sharpened on the other side. But guess what? The handle's a sword too. But it's like no matter what happens, I'm still going to get cut.
One of the guys that they fired at DC was like the guy that was doing that Black Label stuff, which was supposed to be their premier deluxe brand, and they started off really good with Batman Damn, but then they had to stop it because they had the Batawang, the Batawang, and like you could barely even see the thing. It was just so much to do about nothing that was sad.
Right.
But anyway, the book went up and everybody was like going off about it or whatever.
Wasn't Bob Harris one of those people that was laid off?
Yeah.
Because I remember I saw the name, I was like, Bob Harris from like Marvel, because that's where I know him from. Like, it's from Marvel. I was like, Marvel Bob Harris? Wasn't he like editor of Wasn't he like editor of X-Men for a while?
There was a guy that was from Marvel that had been there. He was back in the day. I mean, he was like a long time ago, so he'd been at DC for a while. I think that was him. And then, but the guy that had a Black Label, that became all it was Joker and Harley and Batman. Again, you basically just created a whole line of books for Batman, Harley, and Joker. How many things? I mean, you've got that already, and it's like that's all you could come up with. Where's the Elseworld stuff? It was only about those characters. And it basically you're just charged. The only other one that I even remember was like they did a Wonder Woman, and they did what's the other one? They did a Question.
I would have liked to have read that.
Selling, man, huh?
I said I would have liked to have read that.
The Many Deaths of Vic Sage. Yeah, I mean it's still coming out. I think, or it's done. But that's the thing. At the end of the day, it was just another Superman Batman stuff, and so it's like it just got watered down really fast, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work.
I mean, so if you give me a Black Label Guy Gardner, oh man, I would have been all about that.
And that's it right there. Boom, that would have been a fantastic Guy Gardner Lobo team up. Who wouldn't read that? You know, like that would be amazing. Or Poos, or Poozing Poos, or put a Kilowog in there.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I said, my whole triple-edged sword thing I was talking about is, you know, you and I, as we've kind of discussed, it's like the whole nature of the podcast, why we even do it, is because we have a love for comics, and this is just something that has been a part of us for a very long time. And I think I mentioned this in the previous episode where you and I were talking, and we were talking about like comic book readers and us, and you know, for the most part, and you'd said that one of the things about comic book readers is that it's this idea that, you know, not that necessarily the good guys will always win, but that this idea of like justice in the world, and that, you know, fighting for what's right and protect people, and like then that's you know, at the heart of it, that's really what is appealing to us, are these stories of, you know, like, yes, we root for the bad guys sometimes, but we never really want them to fully win, you know, but we really want to see people giving everything to help other people, to save the world, the bigger the conflict, the bigger the repercussions, you know, the more we want to see these people really win, because we want to see that there's that it's possible that no matter how bad things get, if enough people try, and if you put your strength into it, you know, whether you've got superpowers or not. And I mean, and obviously if we're talking about something like Superman versus Darkseid, you know, you're talking about equal ground between me versus like my neighbor. You know, it's only, we've just escalated, but when you strip it all down, it's the same thing. And we want to see, you know, good kind of triumph over evil, or at least be there to say, I'm always going to be here to stand in your way. And that's really at the heart of what brings us here. And for comic books, you know, we've been reading and loving this industry and everything that's tossed at us. And now it's gotten to the point where it's finally getting the recognition that we've always felt that it deserved. But the more recognition it gets, the more other people get involved. And then they see something different than what we see. And then it starts to become perverted and twisted and then taken over and then stripped of everything that it's about. And then when you do that, you're like, oh, this is garbage. I was like, well, and you toss it aside. So I go, no, it was beautiful until you came along and you just sucked everything good out of it. And you left me with this bland, you know, like substanceless, it's like taking a cake and then pulling everything out of it, like dehydrating it and turning it into like a rice cake. Like I had like a German chocolate cake, and now I've got a rice cake, and you're like, nobody wants to eat this. I'm like, well, yeah, but that's not what I gave you. I gave you this, and you turned it into that. And then you say, well, it's garbage. It's like, no, you made it garbage. Don't blame me. And now
I don't want to talk. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I was saying, and now everything that we loved, that we were so happy that was kind of like finally getting the recognition it deserved, is now being I don't want to say destroyed, but
You're right. It is. And like, here's the thing: we know what's coming, because if it continues down this path, it's definitely coming, because you're getting all the people that know what they're doing out of the way, and you're gonna. And I don't want to talk ill of the dead, but you're gonna Batman and Robin it. I mean, it's like, it's coming, man. It's like the end is coming. I mean, and here's the thing: it's the worst thing that could possibly happen for DC, because you heard all these things or these rumblings where this guy's come back, this is going to stay in place, and you thought that they were. It sounded, I mean, they were on track. They had a vision.
Yeah, what happened? They were doing so
Pattinson
well.
As Batman and all this stuff, and like, and you're just like, oh god, what's it? And then Ezra Miller's beating up on a woman in a store, and you're like, oh, or was it a bar or something? I don't know, but like, it's just all these things are going down, and it's like you hear about like what's his Batflax, he's in, he's out, Cavill's in, he's out. You just don't know, and it's like, at the end of the day, if the people behind the scenes that are supposed to be telling them what to do don't know what they're doing, they don't have anything. You know, it won't be their fault. Like, even in Justice League, it wasn't their fault. It was just too many egos and too many people not knowing how to lead something. It was like, and I like Snyder. I'm not going to go on my Snyder rampage. The whole thing with Snyder, man, is like, he's one of those guys that when I watch his movies the first time, I don't get him, and he usually grows on me, but he almost cares too much. He knows too much about comics. He cares way too much about the project. You need like a guy to kind of keep him in line. But the problem is like, that's almost impossible to do. So if you don't have somebody to tell somebody like, hey, you're going off course, you can't stay the course, you know? And you end up, you know, you're looking for America, and you end up in like Indonesia, you know? It's like,
yeah, you took that wrong term in Albuquerque. But you know,
yeah, exactly.
You told me something a long time ago, and it was something I think that Patton Oswalt had said about Watchmen.
What do you say? I forgot.
It was like that he was like, it was like a great movie. It's like, and people don't recognize it now, but 10 years from now, they're going to look back on it, they're going to rewatch it and be like, that movie was fantastic. You know?
Oh, yeah. No, it's good, man. I gave it, I was a lot harsher on it than, I've learned to become less harsh on films over time. Like, I admit I was one of those guys like, well, technically, and I got tired of hearing the bitching and complaining. Now I can take it for what it is. I haven't hated a comic book movie in quite a while now. Even Justice League, I wasn't that unhappy with it. I could take it at face value and be like, okay, this is good. And you know what was really good? You know what's been better than all of them? Venom.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it was coming, man. I was actually going to try to beat you to the punch, but I was like, you know, I will say this, and I'm actually surprised that I'm saying this, because I haven't seen anything different than what I saw in the beginning that made me say, oh no, this is Dottie coming home. But I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing New Mutants.
Yeah, no, I want to see it, man. It looks good. It'll be fine, I'm sure. I got a poster of it. I got the movie poster hanging up right now. Nice.
So the last thing I was going to say about this whole thing, which is, you know, it's just like I said, I don't want to see something that I've invested so much of my life in that. And I want to say that
you invested your whole life. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? Don't even downplay it. Yeah, you have. Yeah, you have. I was going to
say it's so much of a part of me. I mean, because I mean it's. I'm not gonna say that it's a part. I mean, I'm not gonna say that it is my life, but because it's always been a part of my life for so long that you couldn't just like excise that from it and still have like a whole Turk182. You'd have like a, I don't know,
the shell of a Turk.
You'd have like Turk182, exponential. It looked like freaking Goodwill Hunting like math board. But
your shell would be so thin it'd be like an M&M.
Oh wow!
I'm sorry.
Yeah. My life would be as flavorless as fruit stripe gum. It's like at
Hey,
first
man,
you're
I feel
like
the same way. Hey,
at first you're like,
listen,
oh
listen,
wait,
man.
this is really good. Like, oh no, it's not.
You think I'm any different? Like, I I live for Wednesdays, man. I mean, it's like I mean, it's the only. It's like Christmas. There's a guy I watch, and he says that too. He says, and that's where I kind of picked it up. Was like, I don't want to take away from anybody else, but like, yeah, it's like Christmas every week, and like, it's it. And sometimes they do bad things in the comics. Sometimes they do good things. I mean, there's some storylines that I really like right now, and there's sort of storylines that I really like, and then they tank. But it's like sometimes there's storylines that suck, and then they get better. It's always been like that. It's up and down, and like it's these characters, for better or for worse, whatever they're doing with them. I've enjoyed a lot of the stuff that's coming out now. Like one of the reasons I got back into comics is because I was listening to all these people saying how bad it was, and I really didn't have a store to go to. But then somebody opened one up, and I started going back, and I wanted to just see how bad these things were. And a lot of things these people were saying, it's like they say, no press is bad press, because when I started looking at it, I was like, wait a minute, that's not true. This is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. It was just people with their own biases, you know. So you got to make your own decisions. Don't let people tell you something's good or bad. Just see for yourself, you know. Don't listen to this. You know, you can't listen to Siskel and Ebert anymore. But I never based my opinions on what they said anyway. You got to go see the movie, you know.
Right. I always use Siskel and Ebert, since you mentioned them, as a good like starting point. But if it was something I really wanted to see, unless they gave me a really good reason not to, like, oh, and by the way, this, and I'm like, oh, no, and it's like, what do you mean he's not really the Mandarin? But no,
No, Cat. You remember that movie Cat Eyes that we were talking about? Like,
what, the Stephen King movie?
I remember seeing like Siskel and Ebert give a review of that, saying how great that was. One of them did. And like, I remember that to this day. I was like, he's saying how great it was. I didn't see it till this year. It was just okay. It wasn't good at all. Now, wait, which one? He only had that to go with, but he was kind of going off about it. So that's why it always stuck with me. He's like, he really liked this. I think he just liked the way the girl looked. I mean, because really that was all that was good with it.
Which movie were we talking about?
Isn't that the one with like the guy from McDowell, the guy that from the Caligula and Clockwork Orange, and like they're like cat people. Like he's a cat and she's a cat, and they can transform. They're like aliens.
Oh, the movie Cat People from like the 80s?
Is that Cat People? Okay. Yeah, I remember that. I remember like a review that they did, and they said, "Oh, this is the best movie ever," and like you should go see it. And I finally saw it like last year or the year before, and like I was like, that's not very good.
Well, so I think sometimes when it comes to those things, like it's if you don't see it at in the proper like time frame, it doesn't have the same context. But but I was going to say, you talking about going back to your Christmas analogy. For me, Tuesdays were new music and new movie days. Wednesdays were new comic days. And dude, and then Fridays were the days that Toys R Us got their shipments in. Mm-hmm. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, those were my days, man. You're right. It was like Christmas for me. I'm like, damn, new movies are going to come out on sale on Tuesdays. New music is on Tuesdays, and then comic books, and then hit Toys R Us up for like all the to see if they got like the shipment in of stuff, because I don't have this action figure, I don't have this thing or that thing. Yeah, man, it was fantastic. And then like movies and video games and music decided they want to start. Oh, now we're going to release this on this day. We're going to release this on this day, and then this on this day, and blah 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 blah. So I couldn't count on that anymore. And then comic books were just, well, I don't have an LCS, so and then their Toys R Us, well,
they're gone. And now what do you got to look forward to, Turk? Cardi B releasing her YouTube videos. I mean, it's like there's nothing anymore. There's nothing. Hey, they don't even have movies anymore. They don't have movies right now, man. I think.
I read comic books. I already look at fictitious things. I don't need to look at Cardi B. Cardi
B is just things they make up, like the Boogeyman or Cardi B. Or Michael Jackson.
Yeah. What if Cardi B is in a submarine? Oh, she can swim.
She can float.